Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/prorevenge, where people tell us their best stories on when they got revenge on someone or something they didn't like. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax and enjoy some pro-revenge stories. A unique way to share your money among your heirs in a way that is actually fair. This story is the story of a good friend of mine's grandfather, and how he dealt with his inheritance in a very unique way. He had two sons, and each of them also had two sons. In the last year of his life, my friend and me visited him every morning and every evening. You see, he did not want to go into a retirement home, and apart from getting ready in the morning and in the evening, he did not really need help. Now, I need to explain something real quick. Back in the day, we still have mandatory service in the army for 12 months, but there were several ways around it. I will only explain the most common way since it is connected to our story. You see, instead of going to the army, you could say you refused to go to the army for ethical reasons, which was really just a formality. You simply wrote a one-page essay why you think you being in the army would violate your personal ethics, and they pretty much had to accept it. But that meant you had to go into a civil service. Civil service could be any kind of job that in a wider sense is a service to society. So, these jobs ranged from kindergarten to retirement homes and anything in between, like hospitals, homes for the physically or mentally disabled, Meals on Wheels, pretty much anything you can imagine. You would be paid for that time the same amount of money you would get in the army, and had the right to get certain perks like a free room, health insurance, work clothes, etc. The same stuff any soldier gets. Plus, since the soldier gets free food, you either got free food or a food allowance. I did my time in a retirement home and it was an awesome experience. I think a job like that really widens your horizon as a young, arrogant kid, and really matures you and shows you what is actually important in life. Back to the story. I was just done with my time in the retirement home, and for 1 year, Imply wanted to job around and make some money. Then, one of my best friends comes to me and says he needs my help. His grandpa can no longer do everything by himself, but only really needs help in the morning and to get ready in the evening. Since I have learned how to do this from real professionals, he asks me to show him. So, his grandpa does not yet have to go into a retirement home. He later admitted grandpa said he really doesn't want to go into a nursing home, and he seemed really serious about it. He did not tell me at the time since he did not want to pressure me into help like that, which I really appreciated. He was one of my best friends, and I really liked his grandpa. When I was younger, I did not have a grandpa, but we visited him all the time and I became his unofficial 5th grandson. So, of course, I said yes. The original plan was to show him for 2 to 3 weeks, then observe him for another 2 to 3 weeks. Then he would do it on his own. But we ended up doing it together for over half a year. Then, Grandpa had a stroke and died within 2 days in the hospital. 2 days later, my friend asked me to come with him to the lawyer, where the first will would be spread. His grandfather had specifically asked that his will should be read the day before he gets buried, which is quite unusual, but not illegal as such. I asked why he wanted me there, and he told me the lawyer had officially invited me, since Grandpa had left me something as a thank you for my service. I was a bit embarrassed, but also happy that Grandpa had thought so highly of my service, he even put me in his last will. Now, my friend's dad is an entitled douchebag, and the same goes for his uncle. We arrived there and went into the room. My friend is F. You get 3 guesses who me is. Entitled dad is ED, and entitled uncle is EU. The entitled dad says to me, "Why the hell are you here? I know that dad called you in jest his 5th grandson, but this is for real family." "I bet the little gold digger hoped he would get some money in the will." "I was asked to be here by the lawyer. Take it up with him. I have no idea why I'm here." "If you pull something to get his money, I will sue you so hard, even your kids will still need lawyers." "Show some respect and stop shouting. I know you two did not really care about your dad, but show at least a minimum of respect." How dare you talk like that to your elders, you little shh. You two get exactly as much respect from me as you showed your own father. None. He really shouted the last word, and it finally shut the two up. We sat down and still had to wait for the other two grandkids to arrive. The two sat right behind us, and what they talked about really made my blood boil. Apparently, they had both gotten new cars, new jewelry for the wife, and had planned a huge holiday. All that was paid for by credit, and they had planned to pay for it with the inheritance. None of them said even a word about missing him, being sad that he was gone. Nothing. Only me, and money. They seemed to be in competition who could spend the inheritance faster the way they planned away the money. Then, finally, we were all there and the lawyer read out a short letter. What I tell you here is pretty much a shortened version, but the real thing was several pages. But it boils down to this. In recent years, I more and more realized that some people in my family cared a lot more about me than others. I am especially disappointed in my two sons, but I wanted to be really fair and not biased. So I came up with a point system. A letter or phone call is 1 point, plus 1 point extra if it is long. A visit is 2 points per hour, plus 1 point per hour of travel to me and back. Helping me out with something is 3 points per hour. This is the final result over the last 3 years of my life. Entitled Dad, 8 points. Entitled Uncle, 10 points. Entitled Uncle's Kid 1, 150 points. Entitled Uncle's Kid 2, 133 points. Your friend's brother, 288 points. Friend, 7,341 points. And me, 5,883 points. My lawyer has already liquidated most of my assets except the house. Once it is sold, the money will be divided by the points, so we know what each point is worth. And then every person gets a share of the money according to his points. For a minute, you could hear a pin drop. Then, both Entitled Dad and Entitled Uncle started shouting at the same time that they knew we would have pulled something and this will would never stand. Of course, they tried to sue Entitled Uncle, his kids, and Entitled Dad together. But they lost, and there was a secret clause. Not really secret, it was simply not read to us that day, so nobody realized it was there, since we assumed everything was read to us on that day by the lawyer. In the will, that if someone sues against the will, he loses his share of the inheritance. It took nearly 3 years until all the lawsuits were over. I was blown away when we finally got the money. I'm not naming a sum, but it was way more than I felt comfortable accepting. So, I wanted to give at least some of it to the other 3 grandkids. But my friend finally convinced me to accept by saying to me, "You cared for him when he needed you," without expecting anything for it, which makes you 10 times more his family than any of these kids. They got what they deserved. That was probably the best way of allocating an inheritance. That was so good. But I'm surprised the guy had literally, 3 points or something? 8 points. He only had 8 points. So that means he probably called him 8 times, probably asking for money. I think you should just get nothing with that little points. That's just mad. You mess with my pay, I'll put you out of business. Years ago, I was running a kitchen for one of those typical Lebanese American style diners. Seriously, more often than not, it was just me back there. It sucked. But I needed the job. The owners thought I was going to be easy to screw over, and they'd talk all kinds of smack to each other, apparently not remembering that I had explicitly said I'm proficient in Arabic when they hired me. So, I recorded these conversations. My state is single-party consent. That often bled into them trying to make me cover for them on major health code violations. Seriously, they expected me to cover for them while they talk smack about me, with me right in front of them. So I quickly began searching for a new job and continued to document everything. Every single thing. I had pictures, timestamps, temp logs, all of it. And then they messed with my pay. I was willing to just walk away and leave it at that, but they messed with my pay. Everything that I had been gathering as my just-in-case plan became the documents I needed it to be. I confronted them about the very obvious wage theft. They denied it, even in the face of the major discrepancies in hours worked, set wage, and the amount withheld in taxes. That night, I got a call from another place I'd applied to asking if I was still interested in the position. Obviously, I was. Told them I could start in about 3 days. I walked in for my next shift with the prints of everything in a file. Put everything on the table and told him, "You've been stealing from me. I have all of this in proof of that, and all of this ready to go to the health department, labor department, and IRS. And this doesn't see the light of day." He was very quickly to pay me, in cash, the amount that I'd recorded missing from my checks, and took the files and started shredding them. As I turned to leave his office, I turned back around and told him, in Arabic, "I could understand you the whole time, you douchebag." And I walked out. Quit on the spot. Of course, he didn't have the only copies of those files. When I got home, I sent everything off to the relevant departments. He was shut down about a month later. Right at the end, that caught me off guard. I was like, it was alright, but you know, it didn't quite get them. And then he was like, oh, and then I sent it off anyway. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna mess with you. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.